Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. We're following with interest the unfolding developments in the Goldman Sachs case. Goldman Sachs finally hit with a civil suit for fraud in the matter of derivatives, in this case based on subprime mortgages. They are accused of misstating, omitting, and otherwise defrauding all kinds of people about these subprime securities. The role of Paulson and Company is in particular helping to design and, I guess, sell a collateralized debt obligation, which is somehow at the heart of the suit. And, of course, a collateralized debt obligation is a derivative. And we've been telling you now for 2 years and more since this crisis started in really in August of 2007. It is a world derivatives depression. The derivatives are at the heart of it. Some of them can and ought to be banned immediately. That would be credit default swaps, because that involves selling insurance when you have not met the regulations to be an insurance company. You don't have the capital, you don't have the backup, you don't have reinsurance, you have nothing but your face and your good name. Not enough. Ban, outlaw, credit default swaps. Collateralized debt obligations, a little bit more complex, harder to ban, I guess we can say. The trick there is the Tobin tax. Tax them out of existence. The power to tax is the power to destroy. Turn that power against the most toxic and dangerous formatives, essentially make them futile, make it so that the Wall Street hedge fund hyenas will not be interested in them because of the taxation that will take the life out of the booze for these parasitical characters. So this is going to be going on. We're told that the VIX, the volatility index, is way up, and that credit default swaps to ensure Goldman Sachs from default have now become much more expensive. So from Greece to Goldman Sachs. And given the fact that this entire system is and remains on the brink, this can turn into a panic in short order, as Soros says. A super bubble followed by a plane crash. We were above 11,000. We were most of the way to, we were on our way from 11,000 to 12,000 this week. And that's where we stand. We'll see if we can look in again before the end of the program. Now, let's look at the Middle East. We're told that the Obama administration is deeply rethinking the U.S. relation with Israel. And Obama is now saying that a deal between the Israelis and the Palestinians is a vital interest of the United States. And not only does Obama say this, but General David Petraeus, the theater commander, is also saying that the solution of the Palestinian problem is a vital interest. We know what this is. It is the attempt to create a front of countries which are predominantly Arab and Sunni as a group of cannon fodder candidates. This would include Saudi Arabia, the Gulf Cooperation Council. They'd love to get Syria, hard to do. Jordan, why not? And so forth. Egypt, if they could. And play all that against Iran. Really, Saudis are the only ones that are enthusiastic. So the idea is that the Israelis are supposed to make concessions and go to the two-state solution. Again, not as a matter of making peace, a matter of preparing war. So you could have the air attack coming from the U.S. And others, and then you'd have some forces on the ground that you could send in to tie up the Iranians, which otherwise you don't have. Now, this is apparently causing some consternation in the militaristic and aggressive clique around Netanyahu. So some actual friction, and it may be real or it may again always be this breakaway ally scenario. The Israelis are now alleging that Syria has delivered Scud missiles, these old Soviet missiles. We know them from the first Gulf War. Remember the Scud box out there in western Iraq. These are the ones that did hit Israel at the time. The Israelis allege that Syria delivered obsolete Soviet Scud missiles to Hezbollah in Lebanon, and that these missiles are now pointed at northern Israel. The Syrian government says that this charge is the prelude or a possible pretext for an Israeli attack on Syria. And there are enough people saying the same thing that we have to take this seriously. King Abdullah of Jordan at a briefing for American congressmen run by this guy, Adam Schiff, has said that he fears that war is imminent and that it would be yet again, as in 2006, an Israeli thrust into southern Lebanon to attack Hezbollah. We have Nabi Berri, still I think the Speaker of the Lebanese Parliament, who thinks that Israel may drag the United States into war along these lines. Now, is it the case that Obama is so determined to assemble this, Obama and Clinton, of course, and their handlers, more to the point, this Zbigniew Brzezinski types, they're so determined to assemble this Arab and Sunni front against Iran that they're going to force Israel to make compromises, which mean the breakup of the Netanyahu coalition government. Out of this, could something unexpected come? Well, it's always possible. The nuclear summit held in Washington this past week was, of course, a demagogic photo opportunity quite largely. We don't need to belabor all of the problems with this, right? So many countries that if you were serious about real issues of nuclear proliferation, you would have invited a country like Niger, right? Remember the famous Yellow Cake Memorandum, the Valerie Plame story? That was about Niger. Niger is this poverty-stricken country in Central Africa with significant uranium resources. They were not invited. Iran was not invited. North Korea was not invited. Syria not invited. Venezuela not invited. Bolivia not invited. Lebanon not invited. Azerbaijan not invited. Netanyahu was invited but didn't come. So a lot of the key players, if you were serious about this, they were invited. So what you basically had is something that looks rather like the League of Democracies. In other words, this anti-United Nations, alternative to the United Nations, essentially the permanent five of the Security Council, plus the Anglo-American echelon group, plus the coalition of the willing, right, the various people who were there for all kinds of different reasons. Hu of China was there, Medvedev was there, Singh of India, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, that's significant. Armenia was there, Saakashvili, the tin-pot madman of Georgia was there, Berlusconi, Sarkozy, Merkel, all there. Anyway, the main purpose of this is to get some kind of shred of credibility for the campaign that Obama is carrying out against Iran, that the U.S. is seriously committed to non-proliferation and, above all, to blocking nuclear terrorism. It gives a lot of publicity to the idea of nuclear terrorism. Notice also there's an attempt to shut down research reactors across the world as countries from Chile to Ukraine and others give up fissile material that they had in research reactors. So this is equivalent to crippling the ability of some parts of the world to keep up with modern nuclear technology, which, of course, broadly speaking, is the way out of any energy impasse that may emerge. So that's the nuclear summit in Washington this past week. Still no government in Iraq. I guess it's premature to even talk of a government, but Alawi, Maliki, and Sadr, Muqtada Sadr, and his candidate Jafari still contending. And you get the idea that Alawi is now opening up to Iran. In other words, that the U.S. puppet, that the whole exercise had been to put Alawi into power as part of getting Iraq into that Arab-Sunni front, that he may be escaping from the U.S. orbit as well in the same way that Karzai did and in the same way that Kyrgyzia is apparently doing. So we'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.